And I'm just gonna make it go today. So we'll just we'll figure it out. Yeah, I'm blue guy. Let's see if we can change that actually, maybe. Should we change it? Whoa, that's crazy. No, that's too crazy. You know what? I'm gonna kill it. Let's kill it. It's just a little too distracting. Oh yeah. Guy in a dark room. That's better. Blinded by the light. All right. I did not just do that. So I did not just do that. Okay. Don't do green. It attracts bugs. All right. So first kind of order of business. This is more than likely the last lecture of the year. I'm going to let that sink in for a little bit. Right? Because we're off on Easter break. There's 3 weeks of Easter break. When we come back, it's another 2 weeks. And most of that is just feedback and review. Formal lecturing stops, right? And you're expected to put your head down, work on completing your assignments, and then submit for your April or May deadline, depending on what modules you've got, right? So yeah, this is it. So I want to hit you with a load of stuff before that formal lecturing stops, right? No. Okay. The F key. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The last lecture. All right. So in that regard, let's take a look at, let me see if I can pop this guy over here. Notes. And we'll take a look at, let's pop open the scene first to see where we left off so I can talk a little bit about animating inside of Maya and taking a play blast. The idea of going sort of frame by frame, keyframe by keyframe, and showing you how I animate is probably not the best use of our time today, right? Because it's just grinding through. Now that you understand how to set up the characters and work with the controls and set up your selection sets, it really is about turning on auto key, working out your timing, and working out your poses. I know I'm super simplifying it, but we'll take a look at our scene and we'll talk a little bit about it, right? So this is the Spidey scene. Let's get in there. I'm not going to set my project at the moment because we're going to flip over and do something a little bit better. I've been creating fog with a 3D container, which has been a blast. Yeah, fluids. If you're using Maya fluids, it's a lot of fun, right? I always reckoned you were a bit of a simulation guy, Tyrone. I'm not really surprised. Simulation people are usually drawn to the technical side of things that involve both understanding what's happening in terms of the software, but also bringing in physics and science as well. Okay, so my shot is loading. There are a few key principles that I'm going to sort of go through today in terms of animating, right? Da, da, da. Right, while that's loading up, I'll prep a little couple of windows. Get this. That's a good one to start with. And in here, we'll do suppose. Okay. So while my scene file is loading, we'll talk a little bit about sort of the creative approaches to animating. Come on. Put an image, a new tab. There you go. All right. So I gather quite a few of you have seen this. I've seen some posts on the Discord talking about Richard Williams. So straight off the bat, if you are to get any animation book at all, you need to get the Animator Survival Kit. Oh no, the subtitles. Oh, okay. So if you get any book at all for animation, start off with Richard Williams' Animation Survival Kit. Right, so let me bring that up real quick. Animators Survival Kit or Survival Guide? I think it's a Survival Guide, and then the kit comes with a bunch of extra stuff, right? So it just looks like this, right? That's the Animator Survival Guide. It is the only book that you need in your arsenal to get started, right? Now, for those of you who don't know, Richard Williams, yeah, Phil told you to get it? Yeah, okay, well then he's giving you the whole kind of shebang on terms of what the survival kit is all about, right? Okay, so here's why I'm not going to walk you through animating the whole thing. First of all, we don't have enough time. And secondly, you know how to pose characters, you know how to reference characters in, and you understand the rig and all that kind of stuff, and you know how to set keyframes, right? The next step is to be able to map out in your head the timing and the spacing and the poses, right? So one of the best exercises to start off with is a walk cycle. Everybody does a walk cycle, right? I'm sure Phil has got you doing walk cycles. I jump more into the sort of the narrative side of things and get you guys thinking about stories you're going to put together. But here's what you need to do. You got to figure out how many frames it takes to go from a contact pose to an up pose to another contact pose. So here you're thinking, or the animator's thinking, okay, it takes 10 frames to shift your weight and move your leg back and pop up. Oops, let me close these guys down for a sec. Right? And then it takes another 10 frames plus change to get to your other contact pose, right? So you're thinking through these things. Notice it's not an even split, yet this walk cycle, the character actually goes up faster and then comes down a little bit slower. Oh, there's the up pass, and then comes back up a little bit slower, right? And then down to the contact pose. So you got to really kind of plan out your timing in terms of how your animation is going to play out. So timing is probably one of the more important initial steps in working out your key poses. In fact, there's a person in a studio dedicated to only that right after the storyboard phase. So when you're storyboarding a 2D cartoon, there's usually somebody who works on dope sheets or timing. And that person literally just takes all of the poses and works out how many frames it takes to go from one pose to the next, right? Should we be doing 3 separate cycles as like different clips, or can we do 3 different movements in one whole clip? I got that question the other day. I can't remember who asked it, but either or, that's fine with me, right? The reason why the assignment briefs are written so open-ended, and this is important, guys, is that as you travel through the years, your assignments will be less and less prescriptive and more free for you to interpret, depending on the lecturer. But 90% of lecturers sort of operate that way. So the first year, we are teaching you. The second year, it is a partnership. The third year, you are discovering things we don't know and you're passing that information to us. That's how it works. So to get you there, you have to break out of the mentality of, I have to do exactly what the lecturer says. No, right? Even more so in the creative industries, right? You know, you should be asking me what you can get away with, right? You know, so a typical question that I would like you to eventually be asking is something like, okay, well, we've got 3 animation clips. Can I create a story with that? Can I put in lighting? Can I put in textures? Can I add music, right? It's got to be this urge to do more, to make, like, you're not working on an assignment, you're working on an Oscar-winning animated short. Boom! That's what you got to be thinking, right? And then I got to say, no, pull that back. This is not about lighting. It's not about rendering, right? And then, you know, those are the conversations we should be having, right? In terms of what I specifically want from the assignment, you tell me what you're going to give me, right? And I want you to take charge of that. Say, look, I'm going to give you 3 different clips, but it's going to be one continuous movie. Okay? Is that all right? And I'll go, yeah, sure, go for it. Right? No criticism to you at all, Joe. I'm just trying to make a point about sort of your changing mentality. And I've said this in the beginning of the year, where I want to kind of push you guys to stop being students and start being animators, right? That's just my thing, right? I did a brief breakdown of keyframes in a clip I found online. It's just the keyframes for now, with the frame numbering and timing in place for the frames, but I'm on the right path. You are absolutely on the right path. Thank you for illustrating the point, right? So yeah, breaking down clips, that's a good thing. Overly ambitious is part and parcel of being creative. I'm constantly being told to pull back, and I'm constantly overdoing it. But when I pull you guys back, it's simply for your own safety and sanity and physical health. Because trust me, I have seen lots of younger animators bite off way more than they can chew, spend sleepless nights trying to get it all working, and just be a nervous wreck at the end of the whole process. And I don't want that to happen to you, because you're just starting on your journey, right? So no, I will never discourage ambition. I will just say, look, these are the risks involved. And in fact, what I like to do is say, look, how can we achieve what you want simply, right? How can I let you, I'd rather say, yes, you can do it, but let's talk about how we can do it so it doesn't kill you, right? So that actually dovetails nicely with what I'm going to lecture about today. So that's kind of cool. And we'll talk about ways of streamlining a process so you can achieve a certain visual quality a lot easier, right? So we'll be talking a little bit about that today, right? At the end of the day, my job really is to help you to achieve your vision, and not deny you your vision. But the balancing act is, how far do I push you to the maximum of your ability without overstretching you, so you're just like frazzled at the end of the whole thing, right? So it's no good having you guys do something way below your capacity, because then it's easy and boring and you're just ticking boxes, right? So that's the difficulty. And the only person who knows that for a fact is you, right? So that's the other thing that I hope you guys are picking up, is a little bit of self-awareness of your own kind of limitations. Not to let that stop you, but to know how far to push against it, how far to stretch it, how far to beat, where is that door that you can beat down and cross over, right? So that's kind of my philosophy. Okay, so it's all about planning, mapping out poses, and working out your timing. That's probably the first sort of key step, right? That's interesting with what Matthew brought up, right? There's an excellent Facebook page and YouTube channel called Frame by Frame. No, it's not that. Frame by Frame. I've seen it posted here on the Discord as well. It is awesome. There we go. Frame by frame animation. Is this it? No, it's not. It's not it. I thought for a second that was the Facebook page. But it's around here somewhere. It's posted up. I'll see if I can find it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's a Canadian website, because Canadians love animating. Like, we got a lot of great animators coming out of Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. So here we go. Awesome, right? Oh my God. No. Okay, right? So this website's fantastic, because it'll play back an animation clip, it'll go through frame by frame, and it'll break it down, right? In terms of the next thing that we need to talk about, okay? So we talked a little bit about planning your timing and your poses, analyzing frame by frame. And what are we analyzing? We're analyzing the 12 principles of animation, right? So in here, right, you're analyzing, when do you use squash and stretch? When do you use anticipation, staging, straight ahead, action versus pose to pose? Come on. I flipping hate this. Nope. Object to all, save and exit. All right. Follow through, overlapping action. Slow in, slow out. That's a really important one. That's probably one of the third or fourth things that I think about. everything traveling in arcs. Secondary action, secondary action and overlap and drag, follow through and overlap, I usually save to the very end, right? Timing, very important thing to figure out, right? Because it's mapping out and planning your animation. Exaggeration, of course, right? Solid drawing or draftsmanship or attention to things like proportion, perspective, etc., etc. And appeal, which has a lot to do with design principles in terms of I think appeal is one of those difficult things to explain to a lot of people, but because a lot of people think appeal is subjective. It's not. It's a design. It can be achieved via design. I don't know. Yeah. So for example, if we were taking a look at color theory, right? So you can have something like a bright, glaring, dirty yellow, and suddenly that color is like not appealing, right? So you can design that into your process, or you can have a warm yellow glow, and then suddenly it's appealing, right? It's inviting, it creates positive emotional response, right? So that's kind of what appeal in terms of design is, right? Okay, so that's basically it. Now I will tell you the one thing that has helped me through the years. I learned more about animating from Don Bluth, not Don Bluth personally, but by studying his films, right? And the biggest joy that I ever had in my life was when I could afford a VHS VCR that had frame-by-frame shuttle. Now there's a 5 to 15 frame slide, which is huge these days, but that was okay. I was fine with it. I could watch a sequence from a Don Bluth film, and I could go back and I could frame by frame and study all the different poses and the timing and the spacing and all of that wonderful stuff. You guys have one-upped me in this generation. You have so many videos you have access to and so many players that can do accurate frame by frame, not taking into account compression, which is a whole other thing. But you have so many tools to be able to break down and analyze animation. And that's what frame by frame animation, the Facebook page, is all about. It's about breaking it down and studying it, right? So there you go. That's covering sort of the visual design side of animating, right? And what you will need to sort of continue on, right? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to switch to my shot one perspective, right? And I will tear off a copy of this guy. Pop him over here, right? I'm just going to walk through my process in terms of how I approached posing, right? So after the last session I had with you, I stayed on the PC because I was really feeling these guys' poses, and I just finished off the posing for them. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to turn off everything. Turn off everything, and I just want to turn on polygons in this window, right? So here I managed to, I think the most difficult posing I had was this guy in the background here. Originally I was going to have him like a skinny drug dealer dude and smoking a cigarette, but it really wasn't working. So I decided to make him like an old wushu monk kind of guy. So I've given him a little bit of a wushu pose. I'm still not 100% happy with it because his silhouette is really interfering with the big guy's silhouette. So I don't know. And plus the fact he's taking a low stance, which mirrors this guy's low stance, I don't like it. I don't like mirrored compositions, right? Even though I tried to make the heads line up so we've got a nice dynamic kind of line cutting through the shot, I'm still not 100% with this guy's pose. The big guy's pose, something is a little bit off. I can't quite peg it. Something about that knee, right? So I'm going to have to fiddle with this guy's pose a little bit more, right? And I think part of it is I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what his mindset is, right? So when you run into difficulty posing a character, 90% of the time, it's because you're not in character. Trust me on this one. If you don't know if the pose is working, it's because you haven't stood in the pose. You haven't felt the emotional state of the guy or girl that you're posing, and you just don't understand it. By contrast, This guy was easy to pose, right? Because I have been in this mental state many times. I have approached, most recently, my kids like this. So I understand that emotional intensity and just the marching towards somebody because you're in that emotional state. So this guy was really easy to pose out. I'm not a child abuser, don't get me wrong. Although I suppose my kids would beg to differ. Um, but yeah, I've been in this situation where I marched towards somebody relatively angry. So it was easy to pose. This guy was easy to pose too because I stand like that occasionally, or I used to when I was 20. Right? And this guy was relatively easy. I'm not a child abuser. I promise. I swear to God. I like wearing wife beaters. Doesn't mean that I am one. So, so this guy was relatively easy to pose, not because I pose like this, but because I've drawn Spider-Man so many times in my childhood, right? So it's relatively easy to have that crouch down, and ninjas. I draw ninjas in poses like this ever since I was like 12, right? So I know that pose inside and out, right? So these two poses, yeah, those were the difficult ones. Now also, these three guys over here on the right are a little bit more agile, more action comic book style. So again, I'm much more familiar with that because even working as a concept artist, I'd be drawing characters like this constantly, right? Very rarely do I concept out or draw an overweight guy like the Blob or something like that, right? So, and same with old skinny dudes. Don't really do that very often. But there we go, right? Now, this is a fun part of the process. Notice how, as well, from the top view, I'm trying to make that wedge shape to sort of indicate that this is the head of a spear attacking Spider-Man, something you don't really see in the composition, but you feel it more than see it, right? Because at some subconscious level, that character arrangement is working, right? And little things I'll pop in and talk a little bit about the composition. So notice how I give crouching guy lots of breathing room, lots of negative space, so we can see his silhouette straight away. I've got a little bit of a silhouette crossover. That's because I want the forms to cross over as much as possible to show that they're part of the same group. They're like literally attached to each other, but at the same time, give them a clear silhouette and breathing room so you can recognize that pose straight away. One trick that we use quite often is we'll flip over to. Why did that not work? Oh, there's okay. So another trick that we will use is we will flip over to silhouette mode to see if the silhouettes are working. I don't know if Phil talked to you about that at all. But the reason why these guys are sort of glowing, I'll explain that in just a second. Let me pop in here. We'll hit the F key to come down and open the character up so I can get at his geometry group, right? And in theory, if I just change one material, I believe it'll affect everything. Okay, so if we go down to the main shader for our guy, right, we've got ambient color. So I'm going to turn that ambient color off. We're still getting a little bit of lighting on our character. I don't know where that's coming from. Lighting. Yeah, that's not going to do anything. Use no lights. Can we go flat lighting? There we go. That's good enough, right? Even though it's the inverse, we've gone white, it gives you an idea, right? So what I generally tend to do, and I used to do this as an exercise as an animator, is I'd look at my character silhouettes as much as I could, right? So if the silhouette still reads, i.e. you can recognize what the action is, you know what emotional state the character is in, then you're doing good. These silhouettes are a little bit confused because I might have crossed these guys too far over. I might move the big guy out a little bit to the left to give the Wushu guy a little bit more room. But just trying to figure out how these guys contribute to the composition will be interesting. It'll be difficult to figure out, right? But notice how even in silhouette value, it's very, very clear what these guys are doing, right? So there's a lot of things to consider when you're posing a character out, right? But it becomes second nature after a while. So I want you guys in the first time you're animating to think about everything very, very slowly, carefully, and meticulously. The more you animate, again, the more it becomes subconscious, the quicker you'll get. Right? Okay, that's the actual artistic approach in terms of animating. The rest is just finding a frame, posing, finding another frame, posing. And again, I'm needlessly simplifying it. It's a lot more complicated than that in terms of what you need to consider in terms of things like twinning and keys favoring one, favoring another, and all kinds of other stuff, right? How things tween exactly, lots to consider, right? But that's a good place to start anyway. So any questions about that? I'm going to rearrange. While I'm waiting for questions, I'm actually going to rearrange my windows. Just because I got my smaller Cintiq over here. And it'll be a lot easier if I bring my lecture notes over to one side. Oh, yeah, there was one other thing that I was going to show you. Almost forgot. Let me, first of all, bring this guy. Boom. Okay. All right. So the other thing I almost forgot was how do we get this stuff out, right? So I will kind of leave rendering up to you guys, right? Because it's fairly, there's a lot of steps to get a render out, right? But instead of rendering, what you guys can do in terms of submitting, has Phil walked you guys through play blasting? That's probably a better place to start. Do you guys know how to play blast? Anybody not know how to play blast? Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Yep, there's some of you have kind of never heard those terms, right? Okay, yep, I'll walk you through it, right? Just click and hope for the best. That's exactly it, Matthew. There's nothing more to that. You just click on everything. Start from the left and click on every function and work your way to the right. You'll find it eventually. Okay, so play blasting is a way of getting your animation or your video out of Maya into a file format like an AVI or a QuickTime or whatever. The difference between rendering and a play blast is that rendering, Maya will run off and calculate everything. Lights in your scene, materials, shaders, everything, right? Usually takes minutes per frame. So if you got, 200 frames, that's 200 minutes of rendering, right? Play blast simply captures what you see in your viewport. That's it. And it takes seconds to do. So before we get there, there's a few things to kind of mention, right? So, I've got a couple of poses here, enough to kind of talk about timing, right? So a lot of times when I watch some animators working, especially if they've never done it before, they'll scrub and they'll go, yeah, that's working fine, right? And then they'll hit play blast and the character will be moving around lightning fast, right? Don't judge your timing by scrubbing the timeline, right? It's totally inaccurate, right? Because the speed of it is based on how fast you're scrubbing the timeline. I know it sounds very simple, but I've seen lots of people make that mistake. They go, oh yeah, it's moving okay. I'm ready to hand this in. No, it's not. You got to hit the play. But now watch what happens when you hit the play, right? It's going pretty quick, right? So how do I know this is moving at the right speed? I'll tell you why that's a very important question. Because if we come into our animation preferences over here, we take a look, there are a couple of ways that your animation will play back. Your animation will play every frame, right? And what does that mean? That means your animation will play every single frame at the speed your graphics adapter can handle it, right? And this is a diagnostic tool in case people want to see every single frame, but it's going to go way too fast for you guys. You might watch this and go, oh, it's too fast. I'm going to have to slow it down. So you slow it down and then you'll submit it and you'll realize the timing is all kind of wrong, right? What do we want? What do we want to do? Well, we've set our project down here at 24 frames a second, right? So we want to play back 24 frames per second every single frame, right? So 24 frames per second by 1, right? So when we play this back, we know that that's real time, right? Make sure you go into the real time on the setting. Yes, absolutely, right? So you want to be on real time for that, right? There's a few other kind of things that you can do. You can have the looping continuous, which I've got here, or you can oscillate it, right? Where it goes back and forth. I very rarely, if ever, do I use this. That looks kind of funny. Or you can just go once, right? If you just want to play it through once, just to, because sometimes the looping can be quite distracting, but I use the continuous loop the most in terms of taking a look at my animation, right? Okay, and then when you're done, you got your timeline set correctly, so you know it's moving at real time. Then you go up to playback. Now, make sure you're in the animation menu, otherwise you won't see it up the top, right? Notice when I switch to modeling, it's different menu choices. When I switch to rigging, different menu choices, which I talked you guys through. I'll switch to rigging to create skeleton joints and things like that. And then under animation, you've got playback. And under playback, the first choice is Playblast. So let's go to Playblast and the option box. And in here, you got a few things you can set. I generally leave it to time slider because most of the time I'm choking up the time slider to just look at a specific thing and I'll want to come in and Playblast that specific thing. Or you can go the project's start and end. My project start and end for some weird reason is defaulting to 1 to 10. But let's say the project is 200 frames long. You can set it from 1 to 200, right? But for this case, I'm just going time slider, right? You can show ornaments. The ornaments are these things like the perspective window and that. But if I turn that off, it won't Playblast, you know, PRSP and the icon there. So I'll turn that off and we'll do our current view, right? Which if we want to capture our camera shot, we'll flip over to our camera shot, right? So now it's going to Playblast my current view for me. And the format, yeah, let's just do AVI. We don't need any encoding because the stuff will probably be quite small. We want 100% quality and we want from the render settings, right? So the render settings, if you guys remember, are up here, right? So if we click on, oops, not that one. That's the render setup. That one should be, no, it's not that one. I'm hunting and pecking because since about 2018 or so, they changed these icons. There we go. So that's the render settings, right? So what we're after here in the render settings is our resolution. Right? So I want my resolution to be 19, we want it to be, where are you now? HD 1080, right? So 1920 by 1080, right? That's it. You go to render settings to set your resolution. That's it, right? Close that off. Now our display size will be from the render settings. So it'll be 1920 by 1080, right? Scale, we want it a full scale. We don't want half the size. It's set to 0.5 because you usually take lots of Playblasts to test your animation and check it out. But this, we're doing a Playblast for submission, right? So we need it full size. Remove temporary files. Now here's the important bit. A lot of people forget this, right? We want to save it to file. And where do we want to save it and what do we want to call it, right? So I'm going to call it scene 1 in class, right? Where am I going to put it? I'm going to browse browse. There we go. And I'm going to, because I set project, it knows where my project is. See that? It's gone into Spidey and the Kids. See that? And it's telling me it's going to create a folder called movies and it's going to put it in there. See, because you set your project in the beginning, Maya knows where to find stuff and put stuff, right? So, oh, weird. This is a weird usability bug. I have to enter the file name again. That's all right. Scene 1 in class, right? I'm going to save it there, right? After you set that, all you do is click Play Blast. It should crank through. You'll get a preview. That's it. Job done. And it'll automatically pop open your system viewer. In my case, I've set it to VLC. And why is it not running? It should play automatically. If not, that's okay. I'm going to navigate towards it to make sure it made it into that directory. Dancing Steppy Man. All right. Ooh, being a bit buggy. Okay, let's go pop into that directory, make sure it made it in there. And then we will continue on. So, no, we went to this one's Digital Sketchbook. Oh, that's why. I'm having problems streaming to my Google Drive at the moment. Oh, crikey. That's why it's not responding. Okay. So anyway, you know what? I'm going to close this down because we don't need to check it. I know it went in there, right? So that's how you do it. Does the Play Blast work with lighting and textured characters? I'm assuming it does. Yes, it does, but only if you're using the Viewport 2.0, right? Because remember, all it does is capture what the viewport shows you. That is it. It's like doing a screen grab of your viewport. That's all it's doing, right? So it's not like rendering, right? Come on, just close the program. No. Close this. And Maya's, you know what? Maya's stuck because it's trying to play my Play Blast on my viewer, but I've got a streaming issue at the moment. So the if you can see here in the viewport under renderer, if you go in there, you can turn on Viewport 2.0. I think 2.0 is the most recent version. And that Viewport 2.0 is a real-time renderer inside of Maya that calculates real-time lighting and textures for your characters, right? It's kind of like Maya's own embedded game engine, right? However, that's the crux of today's lecture, which I'm a little bit over, but we'll see how far we get. Coupled with the fact that I mentioned earlier, I'm here to help you achieve your vision, not tell you no when you want to do certain things. So if you want lighting, you want textures, you want everything to look beautiful, my job is to say yes, but here's how you achieve it, right? And this ties in with the Viewport 2.0 thing as well. What we are going to do is instead of play blasting or rendering, right, we are going to take our animation and we are going to, instead of using Viewport 2.0, which is Maya's pseudo game engine, we're actually going to attach our stuff to a game engine. I'm going to show you a second method of outputting your animations. The first method is rendering straight out of Maya. The second method is sending it to Unreal. And Unreal, as you guys know, is a game SDK, is a master of real-time rendering. So why not utilize those capabilities to set up our project, right? So that's going to be at the heart of what we talk about today, right? Oh, the character files. Okay, so what I'm going to do in terms of the character files is I'm just going to drag and drop them here into the chat for now, so you guys have access to it. I believe earlier I put a link to where you could grab those characters, but let me just pull those over. I do vaguely recall pinning it to the top of something. But let's get some assets over to you guys. So let me come in here. Oh yeah, I've got the streaming issues. Okay, so I'm gonna post up a link to where you can get those assets. Can I use a HDR image for a skybox with the character animated in the background? I have a plan for my character that I want it to be animated in my 3D production environment. Yes, you can use an HDR image for a skybox. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing Skybox. An HDR image in Skybox will take you 5 minutes to set up. No problem. Oh, there are a few things that I want to do as well. I want to be able to quickly grab attendance. Let me come in here. Just going to grab attendance super quick. By the way, just a side note, on those days that I forget to take attendance, that's my fault, not your fault. So I mark everybody present. Right? Just to be fair. Okay. Some of you are probably going, oh, okay, let's try and make it so Al forgets to take attendance. All right. I know that because that's what I would be thinking. All right, cool. So I got attendance. That's marked off. We're all good. The lighting would affect the reflection on the armor and it would cause glare. That is not what you need to be worrying about at this stage, Tyrone, right? Remember, it's intro to character animation. It's not look development. Now, if you were a look dev artist, absolutely. That is exactly what you need to be worried about, right? But you're not a look dev artist, not in this module. But there you go. Okay, so I've got this this issue that it's working its way through at the moment. So I do need to duck out real quick for a comfort break. So what I want you guys to do is to just pop open Maya and just find where the play blast setting is and the render settings are, right? And then just get familiar with that. And then when I come back, we're going to switch gears and we're going to connect Maya to Unreal. Okay? I will be back in 2 seconds. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm back. So, need to download Unreal Engine onto my Mac. Yeah, okay, so that's the other thing. At this point, you guys should either have access to an educational version of Autodesk, or have Unreal Engine, or be translating everything I talk about into Blender, or remote dialing into a PC at the university, right? So you should be at that stage at this point. If you are not, then you will have to bring it up with the head of school. More specifically, I'm thinking of the ability to dial into a uni computer to remote desktop control it, right? Okay. Okay, so there we go. Okay, let me see. We talked about play last time. Okay, cool. So this is going to be difficult with my streaming issues. Let me see if I can restart my stream for a quick second. Stop this guy. Oh, I hate that. Why is it? Start this again and see if we can connect up with a little bit more ease to that cloud drive. Let's get Unreal. Maya's still open. It just collapsed a whole bunch of my windows. Okay. Okay, so I'm just diving into my project here, and I'm going to grab the animation assets and I'm going to put them somewhere where you guys have access to them. So everything I try to do, I try to unify onto the university's OneDrive, right? And I'll send you the OneDrive link. So that's where all of our assignments are, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to pop into the 3DCA and let's go into the, where are we here? Visual Studies. Don't tell me it's in the games folder. It might be. Oh, it's a character design and animation. Okay, I'll pop in here and I'll create an assets folder for you guys. I think it might be a good idea to, let's pop it in here. I'm just going to pop it in the root folder of the 3DCA program folder. Okay, so let's stick the character folder in there. So that's going to transfer over. And I'll post up the OneDrive link for it, so you guys have that. Okay, so what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to connect up a character inside the Unreal Engine, right? So I'm going to walk you guys through that process. Let me I'll bring that window up there. So to do that, I'm going to start off by, kind of curious. Let's open this. I don't want to create another project. I think we have what we need in this one. So I'm going to open that up. Okay, so while that's opening up, we're going to need two plugins. Hang on. Let me open up the games launcher so I get out of the way of the web captioner window. we still streaming? Yeah, we're still streaming. That's all good. Okay. So there are two things that we need to allow Maya to connect with Unreal Engine. Now, the goal of this setup is to be able to animate our character inside of Maya, but see the end result in real time inside of Unreal. The benefit of Unreal is it's got much better real-time lighting, much better post-process effects than you can get out of Viewport 2.0, right? So this is what we're attempting to do at the moment, right? Let me open up my various different asset editors. Now, to help facilitate this, we need two things. We need a plugin for Maya, and we need to activate the plugin inside of Unreal to allow the two to communicate with each other. Oh yeah, that was a quick animation thing. So I'm going to jump out and see if we can find my third-person template map. They've nested it inside here somewhere, which is really sort of frustrating. There it is in the maps. Let's open this guy up. So we're in the third-person map. Now I'm going to close up a lot of the stuff that we've got here. And what was this again? Why did I bring that in? I don't remember. So delete that static mesh actor and we'll do, oh yeah, that's right. The set wouldn't load because I rearranged a few things. That's cool. Documentation actor. Actually, let's go in and create a clean new map. That might be the best way to go. Oh, actually, no, let's go back in here. Let's pop into this map. Save it selected. Network player start. Plane, jumping guy. Let's get rid of jumping guy. Sky sphere, blueprint. Text render actor. Get rid of that. We don't need those guys. We got our ground plane. And we got our Unreal Engine ASP character. That's cool. Okay. I do want to, however, raise this guy up. Let's raise that ground up a little bit so that we're sitting above the grid. And we'll bring you back down to ground level. Okay. So the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the Maya Live Link plugin from the Epic Games Marketplace. So we'll start there. New unreads. What have I unread? Okay. Cool. Okay, so once you're inside the Unreal Engine Marketplace, head over to the Epic Games Launcher, head over to the Marketplace. Head to the Marketplace. There we are. And we're going to search for products, and we're going to look for, I'll just do a search on anything with the name Maya. And there we go. So we've got the Maya Live Link plugin. Now I just need to check one thing. I want to make sure that it has been compiled for 4.26, which it has, right? So now what we need to do with the Maya Live Link plugin is we need to install it to our engine, right? So we're at 4.26. We have a version available for 4.26. Let's install it, right? Slot to add plugin. Yep. Unreal Engine 4.26. If you had other engines installed, they would be listed here. Let's install that plugin. I've been meaning to do this, so it's a good opportunity whilst lecturing you to kind of do this. I will be referring to my notes as well because the last time I created a character animation live length was, months ago. So now, what this should do is also create a folder for you where the Maya Live Link plugin and the Live Link UI Python script It'll also come over during the install process, right? So we're going to tell Maya where to find those plugins in just a minute. This should go lightning quick. I think the same problem I had with my Google Drive is afflicting the download and cleanup process from the Epic Games Marketplace. So we'll give it a minute. Oh yeah, by the way, if you have any questions about Unreal at all, now's your opportunity to ask, right? Come on, you. Come on. Right. In the meantime, I'm going to open up the documentation for the LiveLink plugin because I need to get the plugin address again. I'm looking for the directory path to where Unreal, the marketplace, installs the plugin, the Maya plugins to. One of the things that you need to get intimately familiar with over time is just how your Windows directories work, where each application's directory is. So you got to know where Maya stores its stuff in program files, Unreal, where it stores its stuff, and where all the plugins folders are located. And it's a pain in it's a pain in the ass when you first start having to keep track of that stuff. I remember and I understand, but you get used to it over the course of time, and it becomes a necessity, right? So there it is. So Autodesk. So let's see if it indeed got put into my plugins folder. Yeah, that's true. It should have automatically gone in there. All right, so it's telling me that, well, it's finished. So let's go check. I'm going to leave this open but minimized. Let's go check our directory pathing. Make sure that that guy is in there, right? So it's saying that it's gone into my C, program files, Autodesk, Maya 2020, and into my, is it the plugins? Yes, directly in the plugins folder. So this one, right? Now, I've always gotten confused by this. You generally tend to get two plugins folders, right? So I try to check both of them. One of them looks like sort of out of the box plugins that come from Autodesk. And I think the third-party plugins are the plugin folder separated by the hyphen. So it is not in there, which means that I'm missing a step. Oh yeah, here we go. So that's my Maya plugins folder, right? Now, where Epic installed the plugins is here. Let's let's go back here and so in the help documentation, this is what I was looking for. The files were installed to my Epic Games UE 4.26 engine plugins marketplace Maya LiveLink, right? So that's what I'm looking for. So I'm navigating in my folder structure into 4.26. Now, what was it again? Because I've got the memory of a gnat. Oh, crikey. Where do you go? Here? Yeah, Unreal Engine docs. That's it. Minimize that. Yep. Yes, I'm transferring those over. I'm transferring those over. And I'm going to post up a link in just a second. They're just copying over at the moment. Yep, no worries. Okay. Man. All right. It's a bit of a, I think it's in the engine and plugins. Yeah, there it is. And we should now have a Maya LiveLink Oh, Marketplace. There it is, Maya Live Link, right? And we got a source folder, which has all of the source code. And then we've got the binaries. And then we've got one for 2020, right? So that's what we're after. Oh, are we running 2021? I just need to double check. Oh, come on. It's 2020, right? So that's a good thing to point out. This plugin will not work with 2021 or 2022, right? So the plugin only has binaries up to 2020, right? So one second, I just need to bring up, I want to make sure that I've got all those particular files that I need. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I'm sure it's fine. Okay, so to reiterate, once the Epic Games Marketplace has downloaded your Maya Live Link plugin and installed it to Engine, it'll go do that automatically. It will then become available in your library down here in the vault, right? So in our vault, we will have right here, Maya Live Link. So that's available to me now, right? And we've installed it to Engine, which means it has gone into our program Epic Games UE426 Engine Plugins Marketplace, and it's installed the Maya Live Link in here, right? Now, we want to take those plugins and we want to copy, paste them into Maya's plugins folder. Now, in my opinion, the installer should do this for you, right? But it's just that one extra step that you need to do, right? I just need to really double check to make sure that that's going in the right folder. You know what? I'm just going to navigate to this again via Marketplace. Come on. The plugin doesn't work with the version of Unreal I have installed. You don't have 4.26? Yeah, I want to go here. There it is. Okay. So we've copied the folder to your version of Maya. All right, that's it. Okay, so I just want to make sure there weren't any additional steps involved in terms of that. Okay. So with that, what we need to do is we need to minimize our Explorer windows. So again, we've installed the engine now. Now let's go into Maya. We've moved the plugins folder, but we got to tell Maya exactly where that's located, right? So with inside of Maya, we want to go to our Windows, Settings and Preferences, right? So Windows, Settings, Preferences, down at the bottom is Plugin Manager, right? So that Plugin Manager will tell you all the additional tools that you have integrated inside of Maya. So we did this for the Spider-Verse rig, right? We made sure we had the plugins for that. It's the same kind of thing. So we're going to go into the Plugin Manager, right? We've got our plugin for NG Skin Tools. Notice I got all these directories for plugins. One day I'm just going to organize the big mess and put them all into one plugins folder. But now I've got to add another plugins folder. So I'm going to browse, and we're going to browse to where we put those Maya 2020 plugins. So that was Autodesk, Maya 2020, right? Plugins. And why did it not copy over? It got interrupted. Oh, crikey, you're kidding me. Okay, 1 second. It didn't copy over. 1 minute. Let's go to 2020, copy, and paste. Continue. There we go. Okay, so those have copied over. Now I'm just pointing Maya to that plugin. The way you do it is you say, okay, it's in my Autodesk Maya 2020 plugins folder 2020, because I copied it over. Grab the .mll. So the .mll stands for Maya Link Library, and that's the actual code that runs your plugin, right? So we're going to attach that. Perfect. I'm going to click on auto load, so it loads every time I start Maya. But I want to browse, and I also want to grab the Maya Live Link UI.py. .py stands for Python script. And this opens up a beautiful UI for you, so you don't have to do everything through the command line by typing in code. You'll have a nice UI, right? So before I launch into that, I'm going to copy this, right? And you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to open that, right? So now, give it a minute. Give it more than a minute. My family uses Mac. I have to send fish work onto my laptop. Can Unreal work on Blender? Yes. Yeah, there are many, many ways of creating a workflow between Blender and Unreal. Okay, I'm going to click on auto load. So auto load. So now I've got the Maya plugin and the Maya Python script for the UI connected. So I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to create a shelf, right? Oops. Over here, I'm going to create a new shelf, right? And this shelf I'm going to call UE4. And I'm going to put all my Unreal tools here, right? Now, to launch the UI for Live Link, I can paste the Mel script in here and just hit return, and it'll launch it. In fact, yeah, let's just show you, right? That's why I copied it, right? So when I hit enter, boom, there's our little UI window, right? But I want to create a button for it up here in my shelf, right? So I'm going to right click. Oh, no, I'm going to paste it in here. I'm going to highlight this. Middle mouse button, drag it up here. That's probably the easiest way to create a button. So I've actually taken that Maya Live Link UI command, selected it, middle mouse button drag, and dropped it here. It's going to ask me, okay, what kind of shelf icon do you want to create? What scripting language? Remember, it was Python code, right? There's a .py. So I'm going to click on Python, right? So it's created this Python button for me. I'm going to click on it to test it. Oh, it doesn't want to do it that way. Let's delete this. It's middle mouse button drag. Let's tell it it's a Mel script. Let's try that. There we go. That's weird. It's a .py file, and yet it's translating it to a Mel script. As if we didn't need any further confusion. Okay, so I've just chosen the script language as Mel instead, but now I'm going to right-click and edit this because I want to give it a name. So you can see for the button, when we edit the button, we can choose what commands to give it, right? So I'm giving it the Maya Live Link UI. That's the command that launches the UI, right? But I'm going to go over to the shelf. And over here, we can change the icon for it if we want, right? And navigate to our own custom built PNGs if we want. But I just want to change the name of it. And the name here I want is Live Link, right? And the tooltip is Maya Live Link UI. Oh, oops. 1 second. Changed the wrong thing. Not that one. The icon label. Live Link, right? So I'm going to save that. We've got the Live Link there. We click on it, and there we go. So now we've got a nice convenient button that we can access in terms of turning on our Live Link connection. Now, the next thing I need to do is bring my notes over. Actually, from here to my desktop because I've got that weird latency. And I don't want to deal with it anymore. Oh, and whilst that's doing its thing, let me set up the transfer of assets to my OneDrive because the transfer failed going from Explorer to Explorer. So I'm just going to drag it into my web interface. Create a new folder for assets. Here. Yeah, and I'll bring the characters over into here. Okay, so the characters are, again, uploading. So I'll post that link to the character assets up in just a second. Bring this guy over here. Okay, so that's good. Now, we've got the Maya Live Link plugin installed. Let's go back into Unreal and make sure that we've got it turned on, right? So I'm up in Unreal at the minute, and we're going to go over to our edit plugins, right? So inside the plugins folder, we can go to our built-in animation, and we can see we've got quite a few different animation plugins. We've got the live link there available. All we have to do is to activate it, right? So this will allow streaming of animation data from a third-party package into Unreal Engine 4, right? So it's saying we must restart it. Yeah, let's restart Unreal. And I'm going to save the selected for the time being. And we'll let Unreal do its thing in terms of restarting, right? Whilst it's doing that, actually, I might pop into, oh, no, we're in. Okay, so the live link animation plugin is active. That's cool. We can close off the plugins folder. I'm going to go back to my third-party map, right? So now what we need to do is we need to turn this on. To do that, we have to go into our Windows live link. It's turned on. So that's really cool. It auto-sensed that I installed the live link plugin and it's created that for me, but it's also opened up our Unreal Engine UI for making connections. So this connection window and this connection window is where we specify what we're sending from one package to another. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But for now, I'm going to create a new scene real quick. Yeah, I'll save that. I'm happy with the stuff that's in there at the moment. And I'll save that off. So the live link is turned on. Let's see about picking up the PC. Okay, so I suppose we should wait for the new Maya scene to set itself up. And in the meantime, let's see if we can get some way of doing double window in here. Something like that. Cancel that. Come on, man. So whilst the Maya scene is sort of saving away, actually, let me double check, make sure that transfer has gone through on my OneDrive. That's probably a good thing to check at the moment. Okay, perfect. Oh, actually, it's still uploading, but I can grab the link for my OneDrive and copy it in. It will take a few minutes to finish uploading. There are a lot of character assets that are going over at the moment. So I thought that would be finished by now. Let me leave that for the time being. Okay, so that's still going. This is still going. Oh my God, everything's still going. I'm trying to multitask here, but I got so many spinning wheels confronting me at the moment. All right, let me go. Anyone with the link can access these. And okay, so a couple of things I'm going to do. I am going to post the share link in our chat, but I'm also going to put it up here under assets, right? So we've got assets here. Looks like I've got a Google Drive link here, but I will post this here. And with this, I'll edit it actually. And we will call this character assets. Right? So the character assets are there, right in the level 4 year 1 assets, right? So you can get those there. So let me know if the link is working for you. It should be, and you should be able to download what you need in terms of character assets from there. Okay. Yeah, I can pin it. Let's pin it. But it's also in the assets. It's also in the assets thread too, right? There you go. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right. So let's go in, and this is set up. Yeah, that's good to go. I want to see if I can do, let's try this. It's getting a bit cramped in here. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I want to see if it detects my computer. So this is Unreal Engine. In the live link window, I need to see if we're detecting. Here's where I usually run into problems. And this is our first issue of the day. Okay, so let's see if we can sort this out, right? So I wonder if I need to add a selection to stream something over. Okay, so let's create something quick so we can stream it over. First thing I want to create is inside Maya, I want to create a camera. Let's just chuck a camera in there, right? And this will be my shot 1 cam, right? So there we go. We've got a camera in there. Now we should be able to add a camera. So I've got that camera, and yep, it's streaming that camera over. And let's see if, so this is Maya's streaming UI. Let's see if we then now pick it up over here. Again, for me, this was the real tricky bit. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to turn off Live Link in the hopes that we can restart it, right? Then maybe it will detect. Okay, so Live Link UI is, select that, add that selection. Let's see if we can launch this again. Oh, lovely. Love it when that happens. That's my absolute favorite thing. Okay. See, we don't need presets. So come on, just pick up my machine. So what this should be doing is it should automatically identify the IP address of the machine that you are currently on, right? And this has always been a sticking issue for me. Let me check my notes again. Let's make sure I'm not missing a step. So we have enabled the plugin. We have turned it on. And we've opened up the Live Link Connect window. And we should see that straight away. Let's pop in here and no, that's the general settings. So I've just gone into the plugins live link in the project settings just to take a quick peek to see if there's anything I needed to save or set inside of here. I don't think there is. We should be picking this up straight away. Settings are saved in default game ini, which is currently writable. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, that's fine. That should be all right. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to restart Unreal Engine here in the hopes that on launch, it will detect that information is available in Maya, and hopefully it'll pick up the connection straight away. Now, this has nothing to do with either Autodesk or Epic. It just has to do with my network configuration, unfortunately. So I might actually kind of Google around and take a look at how I can make that a little bit more robust because this constantly happens to me and it's no end of frustration. Any kind of network connectivity issues are always a little bit of a frustrating thing for me. Yeah, for some people, it works no problem without a hitch, right? So it's just I think it's because it's largely dependent on what your setup is. So we're Maya 2020. Maybe it's because I'm running Maya 2020.1. Possible. Let's try launching that plugin again. I don't think there was any sort of error message that kind of spit out on my end over here. Live link, subject connected. Maya Live Link UI, node created. Yeah, that's all working fine. Oh, here we go. Maya Live Link plugin initialized. Line 1. Cannot find procedure. Maya Live Link refresh connection UI. I wonder if I can. I'm going to try and type this in and see if I can manually do this. No. Right. I think we got stopped there. And the issue, I'm guessing, is because this isn't exactly Maya 2020. So let's see if Maya live fresh. Oh, Tyrone, you can go around it a different way. It usually involves compiling the code from scratch. Something that might seem daunting at first, but I think you might be interested in. I've only done it once, but let's see if we can get this working. So, live link, message bus. Yeah, that's not what I'm after. I need to refresh this connection. Let me try and refresh the plugin. Let's see if that'll work. I'll turn this off. I'm going to go to Windows, Settings, Preferences, Plugin Manager. Let's unload it. And let's load it back up again. And we'll click that live link. Let's see. So live link initialized. Actually, I'm going to clear all my windows, and I'm going to try this again. So I'm going to turn that off. Go to Windows, Settings, Preferences, Plugin Manager. I'm going to turn off the plugin, and I'm going to turn it on again. Let's take a look at the error messages. Runtime error. That's okay. I'm fine with that. That's okay. Wait cursor stack empty. That's okay. So now I'm going to click on the live link UI. There it is. Plugin has been initialized. Maya live link UI is running according to this. I'm going to come over here to my source and nothing. So if I were to come in here and add a selection, let's see what happens. So the shot cam has been added. And come back to Unreal Engine and nothing. That is unfortunate. Okay. So we'll come out of that guy. I wish there was a way we could manually refresh this connection. All right. Let's see if I thought this was going to go without a hitch. And I uninstalled all previous versions of Maya. So let's see. Maya live link 2020.1. Let's see if there is an error. Live link. We don't want the Adobe one. No, this is going to take a little bit of reading and looking into. That sort of sucks. Okay, so let me just give you a quick little example of why I wanted to get this working for you guys. This feels a little bit pathetic, to be honest, but I wasn't expecting to be stopped this early in the process. Okay, so UE4 Maya live link, right? let's take a look at this. And this is the best sort of example. I'll just pop to the end here. Maximize this guy. Okay, so the idea is you'd be able to have your data from Maya being translated into Unreal in real time, right? So you can play back your animations and test it in situ inside your Unreal Engine scene with the benefit that it can be fully lit, fully rendered, fully textured, fully everything, right? And you can see how responsive it is in terms of how it's sending animation data immediately over to Unreal. Now, how it does that is it uses a port on your computer to communicate to the same port on your computer in Unreal Engine, right? So that's what I'm struggling to try and get working. But the first sort of stage of this, the ability to detect, that is not happening at the moment, right? Now, generally what you would have to do is you would have to go to source code. You would have to go to the UE4 plugins Maya Live Link GitHub. So the GitHub is where you can find all the source code for the versions that you need. It's good I'm popping in here because it looks like, so the latest release was in August 2019. Plugin for Maya sends data to Unreal Engine. 16 months ago, it was updated. Again, this is just the source code. So what you would have to do is compile it yourself. Now, it's a little bit involved to do, but the compiling is literally launching one or two commands. It will rebuild the plugin for you, and then you can go in and then apply that to... You just do what we did. So you drag your 2022 folder or whatever it is into your Maya plugins and then try again that way, right? It's really disappointing for me that this plugin is not connecting straight away. I'm a little bit bummed out by that. Okay, so 4.26 engine plugin. Yeah, okay, well, that's one of the drawbacks, unfortunately, of a lot of cutting edge plugins. There's usually like a 6 month to 8 month delay before you can get access to that plugin for your version of whatever it is you're working on, right? I just wanted to show you another alternative instead of play blasting of sending me your stuff, right? Now, let's pop back into Unreal. It doesn't say you can't use Unreal. What you would have to do is you'd have to animate and then manually import the FBX character and then the FBX animation file into here, which we did a little bit with the jumping cylinder guy. And then what you can do is you can create a cinematic camera, right? So we got a cine camera actor. Pull this in here, right? So we got the cine camera actor. Let's, I don't know, move this guy roughly into place. I'm going to right click on the cine camera actor so I can pilot it, right? And then this way I can sort of move it in a little bit, kind of closer. That other camera, that's the regular Unreal Engine camera, right? The cinematic camera has like wonderful other effects like depth of field, nice blurred effect, right? So with that created, I'm going to come into my content folder, and I'm going to create a folder for cinematics, right? So this again is just showing you how you can set up a camera and do a render out of Unreal as opposed to doing Play Blast. Yeah, if you import your character to Unreal Engine 4, you can do it manually, bring your character in, bring your animation in. The only drawback is you don't get to animate your character in Maya and see it live in Unreal. It's also helpful if you've got an environment where a character has to move around crates and stuff like that. If you're animating in Maya, you can see exactly how it's interacting with the environment in Unreal. It's just a really nice way of working. But failing that, you just have to export from Maya, import into Unreal. Once you do that, create yourself a Cine Camera Actor like this. Create a cinematics folder. And in here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a level sequence. Where are you? Level sequence. Level. Oh. Where are you now? Level. Oh, right, of course. So the level sequence, actually, you create up here in the cinematics folder. I'm going to add a level sequence. Ba-da-bum. And I'm going to add that level sequence into here. And I'm going to call it render example. Right? So what you get is, in the content browser, you get this, right? But when you click on it, you've got your level sequencer here, right? So that allows you to add let's go and add an actor to the sequence. So in this case, I will grab my UE4 character and I'm going to add this guy to the sequencer, right? I'm going to add the UASP character, right? He's in there. And you can also add in a shot track. And in the shot track, that's your Cine Camera Actor, right? So when I click on here, I can pilot it. Now, once you're inside the level sequencer, you've got your camera set up, you've got your character with your animation set up. You can come over here, click this icon. Oh, we didn't bring in any animation, but that's all right. So that little clapper icon is just like the Maya render settings. It just opens up these render movie settings. You choose your AVI or QuickTime or whatever it is you want to render out, right? No audio, not at this stage. Choose your resolution, right? You can go 1920 by 1080 all the way up to 4K, right? And then compression quality, we probably want it at 100% quality, right? Go to your output directory, choose your file format, right? And that's it. Set your time range, right? Custom start frame, custom end frame, and then capture movie, right? That's it. And it'll go and it'll render your movie to this directory location. It's nice and simple, right? So what I was hoping to show you today before running into the network connectivity issue, what I was planning on showing you today was the ability to animate in Maya, have it working inside of Unreal, right? Now you would still have to export out your FBX, export out your T-pose, and reassemble it in Unreal, but at least you would know what it will finally look like when you get the character in there, right? Set up a Cine Camera Actor, set up a level sequence, and do a quick render, right? It is fairly straightforward. I'll try and get my character imported in UE4. I wanted to mess around in Unreal anyway. So I don't mind going through the coding. Seems fairly straightforward. Yeah, it is. Like I said, the Unreal Engine framework for the Maya Live Link works. The Maya Live Link plugin works. The only thing was the network connectivity. It wasn't refreshing the network connection for me, right? So again, it's just a networking issue. Also, at home, my network connection's a little bit funny, right? It's not like a typical setup, right? So, yeah, if your internet is pretty bad, it shouldn't really interfere with it, but it's an indication that your network connections. Oh yeah, of course, you guys are probably wireless, so you're feeding off the same 802.11 or whatever. It's the block of flats that I'm in. Okay. Yeah, so there might be a bit of a struggle. I just remembered something, guys. On my downstairs computer, I've got 2019 still installed. So what I might do, we're at 10:57. What I might do is, if I get time a little bit later, I will set this up on my downstairs computer and screen grab all the different stages and post them up here so that you can see and follow along and give it a try. But yeah, that's really kind of unfortunate. I wanted this last lecture to end with a bang and show you another method of visualizing your ideas and your animations. But it looks like it was not to be. Yeah, and I don't have time to go through how to compile the Maya Live Length plugin. Maybe I can just show you real quick. There's got to be somebody out there who's put in. Oh, somebody's got a listicle. I think that'll probably be the closest. Yeah, so it's fairly straightforward. Get the UE4 engine source code from GitHub, right? Follow the install steps for dependencies and project generation as described in the engine repo. The engine repo is just the repository is what it stands for. So in the location where you've got the Unreal Engine Maya Live Link source code, there should be a help file that you can read. It'll talk about the other files that you need on your computer to be able to build this properly. So anytime you build code, there's always like external libraries that you need to make